Mary Rose says, I am the editor of Rare Revolution magazine, and I'm also the chair and co-founder of Teddington Trust, which is a charity designated to provide support with patients affected by xeroderma pigmentosum. So just to give you a bit of background about me, my rare inspiration comes from two sides really. My father, who is pictured there on that adapted bicycle, was diagnosed in his sort of 20s when I was just a baby with chronic inflammatory demyelinating polyradiculoropathy. Quite a mouthful, but it's a very rare disease that affects, I think you can see there, less than 10 patients in the UK. So I've grown up around it all my life. I've watched his struggles. We've been very familiar with intensive care settings and just been around that and the sort of condition of dealing with that. Then when I became a mother, when my child was just 13 months old, he was diagnosed with the ultra-rare condition of xeroderma pigmentosum. There's about 104 patients now in the UK with that condition, and if anyone doesn't know about it, it means they can't be exposed to any form of daylight or most types of artificial lighting. So at that point, my sister Rebecca Stewart and I decided to found a charity for this condition called Teddington Trust, which we founded 7 years ago. Throughout that journey, we've been constantly frustrated about the lack of being able to get our message out, and I think we've talked about this today a lot, about how difficult it is to get the right message into media and into the outlets. And so naturally, a year ago, we founded Rare Revolution magazine with absolutely no journalistic background. I'm actually an architect by trade, so it was something that was a big leap of faith, but we went with it and felt that we could really contribute. So what I'm talking to you about today is the why, who and where of building online communities. Now, I should say that the Rare Revolutionaries community, which is a closed Facebook group that we built attached to the magazine, actually happened by accident. We didn't intend to do it. We were going down the route of a magazine, but very shortly after we launched, we were inundated with messages from people saying, oh, finally, I feel there's somewhere I belong. I really feel like reading this, that I fit somewhere. And we just felt, actually, well, we need to build somewhere for people to belong, if that's how they feel. So we did. We built this community. But there's lots of things that we've learned about it, and I think that are really important messages for all of you. And the first is the why. Why are you going to do it? Everybody's time is mega precious. Lots of people here are either running charities, probably working as well, and probably bringing up children, and sometimes managing their own health or their children's own health. You must be responsible with people's time. Don't just create a group for the sake of it. Are you bringing something new? Are you bringing new value? And what do you want to communicate? That's really important. Think about what your message is, what's different. If there is something that already exists that's your condition or that you think aligns with you, perhaps instead of thinking about setting up your own community, think, maybe I can become part of that, and you can really help by giving good content to that and engaging to help that become successful. So you don't necessarily have to create your own one if something's there. Let's not replicate, but think if you do want to do something different, what are you adding? Then we've got the who. So who is your tribe? Really understand who you want to be within that. You can't be everything to everybody. I think that's, again, something else we've talked about today. You can't be a forum and a closed community for everything from children up to adults to scientists to whatever. So decide who are the people you want to communicate, and really try and work to that and make it the best space you can for those people. Think about, are they children, are they industry, what do they want, and what have you got to offer them? And the where. Libby gave us some great insights this morning about who is on which platform. So really think about that. If you've got children, is Facebook the right option? Obviously, we know people under 13 are not on Facebook, or they shouldn't be. So think about that. Is a closed forum better? So for Teddington Trust, we have a forum for children. But we made the decision not to be on Facebook because lots of parents were very twitchy about giving their children a social media account which allowed them to access lots of other things. So we created a closed forum where only they go and they only have access to that. So that's been very successful. The other thing to think about is, Facebook is great and it's free, but not everybody has it. Some people, through choice, have decided not to be on social media. So if you're only communicating on that, are you still including them in your communications? Don't assume because you're communicating in your community that everybody that needs to know your messages is getting it. So yes, you're putting everything in there, but still be thinking, they're the people that on it, how am I getting to them? So am I sending them emails? I mean, our patients actually prefer just picking up the phone and checking in with them once in a while. So for us, and we only have 104, so that works quite well. When you have a bigger community, that's more difficult. But really think about the platform and think about those that are not in it, still can feel included. This is really important. important. Have you got what it takes to build a community? And really what it takes is time. You cannot underestimate the time involved in really nurturing and looking after a community. It's your responsibility once you start it that you allow it to have all of the commitment and the energy put into it. It really does take a lot of time to do that, and I can't underestimate that enough. Yeah, just want to check my notes there. The other thing is that, even if you're not posting a lot, you need to be reading everything that goes through that, checking what's happening, checking if people need you to step in and comment. And also what you'll find once you create a community is that sometimes people will step out of that and start trying to reach out to you for very specific things. So obviously you need to still be available for them in that forum, or if you're not, you need to set those boundaries and parameters so that people understand what the nature of it is. Moderation is absolutely key. If you have a very big community that takes up a lot of your time, perhaps you could consider having moderators from within your community, but very trusted people that you know can look after that space for you. It's super, super important. Do the due diligence. Don't just let anybody in. Every day I am having to go through a list of people trying to join our community, and quite often a lot of those are cut and we have to decline them. So we've set questions, and you can do this. You can set your own questions to find out what their interest is in that group. If they, we asked at the start when we created our group, what did this space, what was it to be? And everyone decided it was to be families, patients and advocates. No industry, no scientists, no one looking to find anecdotes about different things. It was purely about support and sharing experiences. So be true to that and make sure people don't slip through the net, because you can very easily break trust of people if you suddenly find someone from Pharma has come in. And sometimes we get things like, we had one very recently, which in fact we've got quite a few of our rare revolutionaries here, will remember, where somebody reached out to us who worked in pharma and had an interest in patient stories, but also was a parent of a rare disease child. So it was a very difficult one. It wasn't clean cut. So I asked the community, what do you think about it? There were mixed views, but the general consensus was that people felt that that was a conflict of interest. So I just had to go back and say, I'm sorry, you can use all of our open platforms, but due to the nature, we're not going to allow you into this group. So don't be afraid to say no. If they don't ask the questions, don't let them in, and go back and say, can you ask the questions? If you're still not sure, do your due diligence. You can check profiles and just have a little look around and go on LinkedIn, see if you can find out, because it's really important, if you've taken on that responsibility, that you're totally monitoring that. The other thing to be careful of is advice. When people are giving advice, now we've not really had this in our community because we are cross-conditioned, so generally it's more kind of general principles and just really being supportive. But I've been a participant in some groups where very specific medical advice is being offered. So, have you tried this? My child does well on that. Try changing. And you're getting into a very grey area with that. You need to be clear that you're not inadvertently giving advice, medical or otherwise, homeopathic. These are great things to discuss, but be clear of the consequences of that. If you're not happy with it, ask people to either qualify it or take it down. You must be very, very vigilant on that. And then the last thing is relevance. Keep it relevant. And it changes all the time. So as our new members come in, it changes the dynamic, and you've got to always be thinking, are we putting in the right stuff? Are people sharing the right thing? Is the context of the group, so are we still all agreed that we just want, do people want scientists being brought in? You just keep sort of checking it and make sure that it's evolving as you want it to. There's no way to say that if those people come to you and want to join the group, so we've had a few recently that have got a scientific interest and they want to kind of speak to patients, and I said, it's not acceptable for you to come in and start trolling and trying to find things in our group, but if you have particular questions you want to ask, perhaps you could put them to me and I can ask the group, and then they can find you if they want to. So, keep it relevant, but let them know how they can find the information. And then lastly, this is just something that I think is really important, is you don't own the group. You don't own what's the content that's in it. You're just like a curator or a custodian of it. But you must take really seriously your responsibility to look after the people within that. We have had situations where there have been personal disputes and people concerned about the authenticity of other people, and you've got to listen to that, you've got to look into it, see both sides, try and make measured judgments on that. But this is a really important thing, is that you must protect everything, including the stories. And the reason I say that is because when you are hearing people talking and sharing experiences, it becomes part of what you you know, and it's very easy for that to become part of your anecdotes. And inadvertently, you might be saying, oh, I was talking to someone recently who's told me this. Now, that is a closed community, which is a private conversation. It's not the same as if somebody puts something on our Rare Revolution page that's sharing it, then obviously that they put it in an open forum. If they tell me something that's an article, then it's in a magazine, so it's fine. But in a closed forum, you must treat it like you would if you were having a one-to-one conversation. Don't allow yourself to inadvertently retell the stories, even though you're not mentioning who it is, just inadvertently, because that is a breach of someone's privacy. So really be mindful to protect that. And if you see other people doing that as well, sometimes people will be so enraged by something that's happened, they'll then go onto their Facebook page and go, oh, you won't believe what's happened to this person, this is terrible. But actually, that was a private conversation in that group. If you feel you want to do that because you want to raise the profile of what they've said or something, just go back to them and say, I think what you said is really important. Can I use that to make a point or to enforce a cause or a campaign that I'm working on? So yeah, really that's the most important thing. I think just be super diligent, be really thoughtful that it's like having a conversation. It's different from open forum, and really take on the responsibility very seriously to look after your patients and your families. And I'm going to leave you with this final thought, which is something that one of our Rare Revolutionaries said to us not that long ago. And it says, it feels like holding hands, sharing stories, feeling stronger, getting inspiration, changing for the better. And then I think that maybe Rare Revolutionaries is the invisible thread that connects us all. And that's really what you're all striving to do when you create these special spaces. So just, yeah, that's all I have to say really on it. And thank you very much. Cool.